Welcome to Toffee TV. It is the Footy Show Daily. We are live here on Patreon. I'm joined by Andy. If you have any questions, if you want to pick his brain about anything in world football, anything, just let us know. Because he just knows it like at a drop of a hat. He doesn't
Sometimes.
Have to, he doesn't
I
have
thought
to.
that Shea Smith was still alive. There's a mistake, what can I say?
There you go. Yeah, so let us know if you're watching it live. Of course, if you want to watch it live and you're not watching it live, click the link in the description to go to our Patreon. There's also a link in there for the new channel as well. Make sure you go over to it and you subscribe to it. So when we go over to the new channel, you will not miss any videos. So the second semi-final was played last night of the Europa League. Inter Milan versus Shakhtar Donetsk.
It's a bit of a one-sided game, wasn't it?
It was billed as actually as Shakhtar being the attacking side and Inter being like the cagey side who played on the counter-attack.
But they scored 111 goals this
season. I know. I'm just saying that's what it was billed at. And yeah, Inter Milan just blew them away.
They've got a world-class strike force, haven't they? That's the main difference, that you've got Romelu Lukaku and Lautaro Martinez. Antonio Conte's a great manager. They've got a system, and they're going to get better next season when they get Hakeem Hakimi. What more can you say, really? I think Shakhtar did well to get to the semi-finals. I think that some of the players are aging now, in terms of Marlos and Tazon. Got some good young players. Marcus Antonio probably was the only one who shined for them last night. The midfielder, or Marcus Bahia, if you want to call him by his other name. But yeah, I just think that the Inter have got the strongest side in the competition. Don't be wrong, Sevilla are the perennial contenders for the Europa League, but I think Inter Milan showed the class last night, and they're probably the favourites for the final now.
Yeah, Shakhtar will be fuming though, won't they? Because the goal, obviously the first goal came from the goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Kicking the ball straight to an Inter Milan player. So, but I mean, a lot still needed to be done. Great cross and great header. But as you said, second half, once they got that second goal from a set piece, there was no stopping them, and obviously capped off with Romelu Lukaku getting a couple of goals and taking his tally up. I think he needs one more now, is it, to equal Ronaldo's first season?
Yeah.
R9.
He's got 11 and 10 consecutive games, I think, hasn't he? He's got a goal in 10 consecutive games at least anyway in the Europa League.
Yeah, he has, which obviously followed on from playing for Everton as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, them versus Seville should be a very interesting final.
There's different types of teams. Obviously, a team that's been built on money in Inter Milan, and obviously the Monchi way. So it's an interesting game. Yeah, I think it's probably one of the better finals. Probably Man United, Inter Milan's a bit of a bigger game, but that's a big final, isn't it?
I think Lukaku now is starting to. I think what I find interesting is Lukaku obviously left Everton. He was big fish, small pond with Everton. Opportunities to win trophies were limited, but when there was that opportunity, he didn't take the responsibility.
Man United,
the Man United semi-final. He went to Manchester United. Never really proved it. I think it was too much. I think there's too much going on, maybe for him
and the manager.
But he's gone to Inter, and it almost feels like the perfect storm, because I think he's at a point of his career where he's getting to his peak.
He's his peak. Yeah.
He also. I don't think he feels like he's pushed out by anyone. I think Martinez might be a better all-round player,
yes, he is, yeah.
But I don't think the ego factor is there. So I think he can exert that big character, big leader in the dressing room.
Number one player, I think, in terms of name value for Inter Milan. I think there's obviously other players that are well known, but don't be wrong, Lautaro is 22. He's going to be a big name, in the next couple of years. If he gets his move to Barcelona, I doubt that'll happen now because Barca have got money concerns. But even so, Lukaku's probably the name in the side. I think as a partnership, I think they realised that they work best together than they would be, one trying to be the star and one not. But I think, they complement each other in a lot of ways. And people say they couldn't trap a bag of sand, but, he
knows where the goal is.
Last couple of weeks, I think he's improved as a player, especially in his all-round game. I think, you look at him this season, some of the chances and assists he's created for others have been great as well. He's got, his passing's really come along as he's got older. And I think, it's a shame he didn't do it at Everton, really, I guess.
I think the problem with when he played at Manchester United was because he played in a 3. I always feel like he received the ball almost too high up the pitch.
Yeah.
Whereas Inter, I think it's going back to what he was like at Everton. He picks the ball up in areas where he can run at people, and I think that's what he really enjoys.
Yeah, he does, yeah. It's like a train once he gets running, it's hard.
Yeah, exactly. And he obviously got one, like that last night, didn't he? So he's
a natural one goal scorer, whether people like it or not. You know, he's good to be wrong. He's not the perfect, smoothest player in the world, but his goal record's better than none. You know what I mean?
I could live with it.
Yeah, I could live with it.
I could live with it. I think they're going to take some stopping, aren't they, in that final, I think, personally.
I think Inter Milan have done well. Hopefully they keep Conte. I don't know what's going to happen with him. Obviously, Allegri's in the background, but Conte's a really good manager. He obviously proved that over the last couple of seasons. I think it'd be nice if he stayed somewhere for a bit and built a legacy.
Yeah, I think next season, obviously, for them in Serie A,
it's a big season.
They'll obviously be in Champions League as well. They need a better season in Champions League. No, like obviously they're in the final Europa League, but going out, getting into it because they went out in the Champions League is not what they really wanted. But I mean, ultimately it'll work out all right for them if they win it. But next season, I do think it's a good opportunity next season. I think if it's obviously I don't know if whether the break affected them more than anyone else. But there was that weekend, wasn't there, where they went top of the league, and you think that if they could have held on to that for a week or two and got comfortable with it, but they'd lost it within a week, and then that sort of typified their season. And I think they all have to get on the same page and start believing they can win it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Conte's the man to do it. Whether he's there or not, that's a big question. I'd also have to say for Shakhtar, it's a good first season for Luis Castro, the Portuguese manager. Took over from Paulo Fonseca. Of course, a lot of Everton fans will know, but Paulo Fonseca, did really well. Got to really come in the Champions League, and then the semi-final of the Europa League this year for Luis Castro, the Portuguese coach. Got some good young players coming through. Marcos Antonio, Tete, the winger, Marquis Cipriano, and Dodo, the right back, of course. So yeah, I think a good season overall for Shakhtar as well in Europe.
So tonight we've got the first semi-final of Champions League, Paris Saint-Germain versus RB Leipzig. Two clubs that are they're oddly they're both disliked.
Yeah.
Paris Saint-Germain more sort of around Europe. RB Leipzig obviously disliked in Germany for the way they've done it. But oddly, I think what's interesting about Leipzig is they have almost a completely different philosophy to Paris Saint-Germain.
Completely, yeah.
And their philosophy. I mean, the reason why they hate it in Germany is because of obviously it's the 50+1 rule in Germany for ownership, and they sort of skirted around that because obviously we know Red Bull have a large ownership of them, and they've come from nothing in 11 years to being Champions League semi-finalists, and that's seen as very German. But away from that, what's really interesting is they've set the philosophy for German football. I believe you might tell me something different, but they've set this philosophy of going out and looking for young players. I know Dortmund, but they've gone out and looked for young players, and obviously with the other Red Bull clubs, obviously Salzburg, that's helped feed into them. But they haven't gone out. They don't go out looking for the stars all around Europe with all this money. They go out and look for young talent and bring it in, and then harness that. Well,
they've got Christopher Nkunku, who was a PSG Academy product. He got a couple of games under Tuchel. He wasn't really used properly, and then last summer they bought him. Absolute star this year, been fantastic. Dani Olmo was at Barcelona when he was a kid, moved to Dynamo Zagreb. They bought him in January. Fantastic. And they obviously Dejan Upamecano they got from France when he was very young, put him into Liefering, which is Salzburg's feeder club, and he's obviously rose through the ranks to Leipzig. Got an incredible team. They've only really had to sell a couple of players. Werner, obviously, we know about, who's not with them at the moment. They had to sell Keita. They also sold Joshua Kimmich a couple of years ago, who's obviously now a star at Bayern Munich. But realistically, obviously the brainchild of people might be surprised, but obviously Ralph Rangnick's had a big hand in it. Gerard Houlé's had a big hand of his head of football operations. So they've been really smart, and the way they've Lawrence Stewart, who was ex-Everton, head of recruitment operations, he was there until he moved recently to Monaco, and they've smart because they put them into the Liefering system, then they go to Salzburg and then Leipzig. Sometimes they can come from Bragantino or RB Brazil as it once was, and obviously Red Bull New York, like Tyler Adams, who scored the winner last week. And they play in the system all the way through. They go jump levels, and by the time they reach Leipzig, they're ready to play in the Champions League level. It's incredible, and I don't think English clubs can match that model, but it is a model that you have to admire completely. It's unbelievable.
So, do they use that? Is this an overall thing that they use at all their clubs?
It's the same style,
same style, same
4-2-2-2,
system.
yeah. It's the Rangnick coaching way, yeah.
So that's incredible, and that's almost a blueprint for the future. And obviously, we've seen Manchester City going out and buying clubs all over the world, or the City group. Do you think they'll do something similar, or try to do something similar?
They've done it this season at a lot of Lommel. They've got in Belgium. They've signed a couple of really quality young players to play there. One being Jordan Kadiri, who they signed from Ostersunds, and there's another couple, Krastev, who they signed from Bulgaria. They've gone straight there, and they're going to try and build a team. I think they're going to try and use that because. Not that they need, a couple of them might need work permits, but they'll build them up there and they'll try and get them up into the Belgium First Division, and they'll see. But yeah, I think City would be smart to do that. It's hard with our work permit rules, and obviously once we separate from Europe as well, Brexit, it potentially could be even harder. So it's limited here, but there's all sorts of ways you can do it. Obviously Scotland has a bit laxer work permit rules than we do here, so there is different ways you can do. You can have a team in Scotland if so be it. But yeah, City have done it. Brighton have got their own team in Belgium. Sheffield United have got their own team in Belgium. There's a lot of teams who've got two teams. Leicester, obviously, with the George Hurst deal, they got round paying money for him. So yeah, there's ways to do it, but no one has done it as broad and on a scale as Leipzig have.
No one is owned by one of the biggest energy drink companies in the world, are they? So it's and obviously that's where the dislike comes from within Germany.
Rasenballsport instead of RB, yeah.
Not Red Bull Leipzig, no.
Well, they don't have an affiliation anymore with Salzburg. They do have to pay money for the players, but they still are a big group.
Yeah, of course they are. And then on the other side, obviously, you've got Paris Saint-Germain, who one thing I did notice about Paris Saint-Germain, and actually this is something I said a while ago, very small. They are going away from that Paris Saint-Germain name, aren't they? It's very much Paris now in big massive letters, and then a little S and a little G. And you can imagine in the future, because that's always been. I remember saying this to Baz a while ago when we were doing a show. It was like, there used to be this thing of like Paris Saint-Germain, are very, very linked together. But with Paris being this massive untapped source, it's the biggest location for a team without any kind of competition. I think it's 10 million population. And
you say that?
And no, I know there are.
Paris FC have just been bought by Bahrain, haven't they?
No, I know.
So they're coming forward.
No, I know. And maybe that's why, but they're focusing so much now on this. It will just become Paris SG.
But the Jordan brand now as well.
Exactly.
It's such a good branding model. Like, they've got Kylian Mbappe, of course.
Jordan is actually huge in Paris and huge in France. Basketball is huge in France. And even on the documentary, we've seen the tour of them going. It's such a huge thing. They're very, 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 very smart club.
Yeah.
But tonight, can you see?
Big ask for that Leipzig. Big ask. The average team at 24 years old. They've got a couple of older players, but really they haven't got the experience at this level. And I think that's how it tells in the the managers, even inexperienced, the manager's only 34, same age as me, I think, or 33 maybe. But there's an experience gap where you've got Paris Saint-Germain with Thiago Silva, Angel Di Maria, all those players, and it's going to be a tough ask, but they play at such a pace that's hard for teams to live with.
I think the game the other night for Paris Saint-Germain was such a pivotal game.
Yes,
to get Mbappe on the pitch for that time and to get through that game. Be interesting to see where he starts tonight. I can imagine if he's healthy, he'll start, because obviously why wouldn't you? But it was such an important hump to get over.
For them, as a club, It's like Man United. If you remember back in the 90s, Man United kept getting to quarters, kept getting to semi, and then finally they broke it and they won it. And I think you do need to get over the hump. Arsenal took years, and only did it once, obviously, in 2005. But 2006, sorry. It does take it. You need to get over the hump. And I think PSG finally have it. It sort of validates Neymar a bit more as well now, doesn't it? He's a player who's long been, Messi's second.
Well, we're talking about the brand there. What do you think it would? Whether you want to call it a brand or the club or whatever, but what do you think it would do for Paris Saint-Germain? Number one, to get to a Champions League final. Number two, if they could win a Champions League final.
Well, if you think about it in America, Americans are now really getting more and more into soccer, and and I say Americans, but no, they are. And I think the Champions League, because the sports in America has just come out. I know basketball's back and baseball's back, but I think the Champions League is a much bigger thing now in America. And I think if Paris Saint-Germain with that Jordan brand,
it's so big.
Yeah,
it's so big.
Go on.
Jamie Carragher, does he?
He doesn't see with Mika Richards, who's great, by the way, I have to say.
And
Kate Abdo, perfect translation of French, by the way, the night. Well done to her. I can't speak any other languages. He can't even speak English. But you know, to be fair, and I think if you can win now the Champions League, I think it puts you on a different. I know Porto won it in the past, and they've not really become a big club. But I think it puts you. Like Chelsea.
But it makes you elite, doesn't it?
Chelsea. Chelsea won it, yeah.
This is the big criticism of and obviously Liverpool fans are obviously loving to dig it into the Manchester City fans. But it makes you elite, doesn't it?
Because it puts you on the map, essentially, as a club who's won the biggest prize in Europe, as they say. Don't get me wrong, I always say the league is your bread and butter. That should always be the first thing.
But they're winning that for fun.
Yeah, they are.
And that's the difference, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're winning that for fun. And I think, and actually, and I know we've said this a lot of times, but Paris Saint-Germain winning the Champions League,
it's their biggest trophy. Yeah.
But it's a good thing for football, though. I know that sounds. No, it is, and I'll tell you why. Because the longer Paris Saint-Germain go without winning the Champions League, the more likelihood is the people who own Paris Saint-Germain will try and force that Super League through. If they genuinely feel they can win the Champions League,
in France,
and obviously, then I think there'll be less temptation to be trying to force through this other thing.
They better let Juventus win it next year then, because Agnelli's desperate, isn't he? Because he doesn't want Atalantas of the world. But yeah, I think tonight's game's going to be. I hope Leipzig do it. I'm a big fan of Leipzig. I know German fans don't like them, but I don't know. They're just a model of recruitment. The model of recruitment is someone who's involved in it. It's just, I love Christopher Nkunku as well. I wanted Everton to sign him last summer. Again, another great player. They're such a smart club.
Interesting. I mean, I want Paris Saint-Germain.
Well, it's fine.
And I like Paris. I like Paris Saint-Germain before the money.
I did as well, to be fair. They knocked Liverpool out the 95 UEFA Cup, so I like them then.
Let's talk about Barcelona. Obviously, club in with a few issues. Later, they sacked sporting director Eric Abidal. Isn't that sad, though?
After all,
isn't that a sad ending for him?
Yeah, if you think about it, obviously he had there's a kidney cancer he had, and then he came back. He lifted the trophy when they won the Champions League. Pep obviously kept him around the team, and then he became, I think, 18 months, 2 years ago, became sporting director or team manager, whatever it was. And now he's been let go. Yeah, it is.
He didn't get on with Messi, though.
No.
That was well documented.
Well, Messi's the most important player in Barcelona's history, probably apart from Cruyff, so understandably so that Messi has a lot of influence. I think the problem with Barcelona is I think it doesn't matter who runs it or who's the manager. I think it needs to be, it's top down. You need to restructure the club.
Apparently, Barcelona have resisted calls for an immediate presidential elections. Yeah, they'll take place after March the 15th, 2021, so they're probably thinking, well, there might be people in the stadium by then, which will make it easier.
Yeah.
They're saying that elections, an immediate ballot held would be not feasible. But I know we spoke about this already this week, but they have to get back to old Barcelona. And I know I've looked on Twitter the last couple of days, and there's a lot of Evertonians, a lot of like jokes about Koeman's time at Everton, how much money he spent. But I believe, and I've said this, we've both said this, that it is a good appointment. Yeah. It brings back some Barcelona back to Barcelona. Yeah, and that's exactly what they need. And the funny thing is, that's what Bayern Munich have shown.
Yeah.
When it's going wrong, bring back some Bayern Munich,
yeah.
and it'll get it back on track to what it needs to be.
I think some people fall in love with an idealism that maybe not theirs. And I don't know, maybe we do this as clubs, and I think maybe Everton have done it as well, but maybe your core values as a club. Obviously, Everton want to change. Some of them obviously wanting to be winning, but for other clubs, you can't go way too far from what your values, as fans' values and your club's values are. I think Barcelona has always been play a certain way, promote from the youth ranks, and obviously be a club that's not reliant on sponsorships and stuff like that. Now, I don't think they'll ever be able to go back on the sponsorships because obviously the money's too big now. But they need to have a structure whereby they don't have as many star players and they're producing their own players again. They've got some really good young players. Hopefully Koeman used them, Ansu Fati, of course. Pedri, they signed from Las Palmas this summer. Ricky Puig. There's others. They're looking at bringing Eric Garcia back from Manchester City. They need to build a team of people with that core of Catalan values.
Definitely. I think it's. I think it's good. It'll always be good to have a good Barcelona team around.
It is, yeah.
Because they're an important player in the traditional club as well.
Real Madrid doing well, do we?
It's not for me to say. So obviously Ronald Koeman looks like he's set to take over, and they're just trying to negotiate with Holland to get that done.
Arsene Wenger offered his services to Holland, didn't he? Which, hey, tell you.
Interesting. David Silva has angered Lazio sporting director because he basically decided at the last minute to move to Real Sociedad instead of Lazio.
You know, it's either, you know, San Sebastian, beautiful part of Spain, or Rome. It's a tough choice. It is really a tough choice. But no, I think he's gone to Spain. Maybe better for his family. Obviously, Lazio, obviously a really good club now. You know, Igor Tier used to play for Lazio, is now the sporting director there. He's done really well. But he's made the decision, and I noticed that Roma fans were howling with laughter because after Lazio fans laughed at them over Malcolm choosing Barcelona. So that was quite funny. But yeah, I think I love David Silva. I think he's been an incredible player for Manchester City, and you can't begrudge him going home, really.
The sporting director, Igor Tar, says, I learned about David Silva's transfer to Real Sociedad. I have great respect for a player, but not for the man.
Ooh.
So it was obviously it was all done right down the line, and obviously he's turned around at the last minute, got an offer.
Odegaard's gone back to Real Madrid, hasn't he? So they needed a creative presence, Sociedad, so he brought in a fantastic player.
The opening match of the 2020-21 French top-flight season has been postponed after 4 positive corona tests at Marseille. Yeah. They were due to host Saint Etienne on Friday in the first of 8 weekend fixtures in the Liga, but it's been called off. So there you go. COVID's still having a massive effect on clubs, and they think we're going to have fans back in stadiums soon. I do not think so. Just some of the women's game for a moment. Rose Lavelle has signed for Manchester City to play in the WSL. That's actually a massive. I know Everton signed one of the French stars last week. But Rose Lavelle's an actual massive star in the women's game, and it shows now that a lot of the talent from around the world is now choosing to come to the English game. And I know the way I think the American League works is it's almost like you could probably play in both.
Yeah, I think they do.
The way they split the
similar to the WNBA.
And stuff. So, but I think beforehand a lot of them would choose to go to like places like Lyon, which are really good in Europe and stuff. But it just shows you the reason, I mean, I think it's massive news for the women's game, and I think that's really good because I think there's a lot of interesting things going on at Everton with the women's game, which I find very, very interesting.
Osmanoff's nephew, is it, who's running the Everton?
And they're getting their own sponsor. But I think it's very interesting that a lot of like obviously Manchester City, Chelsea, Arsenal, Everton, Liverpool got relegated.
They pulled all the money out of theirs.
Well, they did. But I find it very interesting that those clubs are putting a lot of money into the women's team. I find it very, very interesting.
Is there like with the youth systems, you get breaks because you invest in the women's game as well?
Maybe.
No, it is. No, but it encourages it though, which is good. And you know, because sometimes they wouldn't. I think it's good. I think we do need a good women's product in the game. I think now is the time. Really, they've had a couple of false starts here and there. I think the last couple of years have been really healthy for the women's sport. I'm not a great watcher of the women's sport myself, but I do wish.
Listen, I've watched the odds women's game and
I enjoy it.
It's obviously it's played at a lot slower pace.
There's more parity though.
But there's a lot, and I say what, I watched a lot of the Women's World Cup last year, and it's in terms of like a spectacle, in terms of skill and stuff, obviously it's not there, but in terms of like tackling stuff, they bounce off each other and they get up, and there's no messing about, and the refs understand the game, that there's no diving, there's no feigning, I think there's more unpredictability. I mean, on the same teams often are the strongest, but there's more unpredictability in results, I think. But it's really good, and I think, you know, seeing Everton building having a little stadium, I think that's good for the club. I think that, you know, the under-23s could play there, or the under-18s or whatever. I think they should make full use of that, and use those facilities. And we've seen clubs like Barcelona building mini stadiums. Real Madrid having their mini stadiums, Manchester City have got a mini stadium, and housing the women's team and the under-23s and the under-18s and all the development teams. So I think that's really encouraging for the football clubs to be using all those assets, and obviously it all drives back because you want more women coming into the game as well.
Definitely, yeah.
There you go. Just thought to mention that. Joe Hart, he's signed for Tottenham on a free transfer. He's 33, signed a 2-year deal, which is a really good move for him Because I didn't
I
expect
think
him to be.
as I said, I think he's going to be someone who's going to add set standards in the dressing room. I think Mourinho wants Tottenham to go to another level this season. We'll see if they can do. But I think he's good as a backup in terms of someone to. He's not going to push Lloris. I think Lloris is a much better goalkeeper, but I think he's good for the dressing room. He'll set, he's good vocal leader. Yeah.
Interesting one. Michael Swan says,
Hello.
all right, fellas, what do you think about Barcelona's plan? What do you think Barcelona's plan will be for Koeman taking over? Attempting to buy success or focusing on youth players and getting them ready for when Xavi takes over?
It's a tough balance because you've got the last years of Messi's post-prime, I guess you'll call it, because he's not as the winner, the one-man show he once was, but he's still scoring 25 goals a season, 24 assists, so he's still a great player. I think you've got to balance that with the fact that Barcelona do need to think about the future. So it's either you go all in now and sign a Neymar back and put the club possibly in danger in a couple of years, or you try and balance the two. I would try and bring more young players through while also keeping the first team strong, but I wouldn't be having players who, not necessarily Barcelona players like Antoine Griezmann still on the side.
I think he's just in there, like we said, to get a bit of Barcelona back and get a bit of.
So he's a bridge. We
said this yesterday. I think it's what it is as well. He walks into the room. We know Koeman's a bit of a strict manager. He walks into the room, and I think beforehand they've been bringing managers in that they don't get respect.
No.
Whereas I think he walks in and everybody ultimately, and this might be Messi as well, you have to look at him and you have to give him respect. And if he asks you to do something, you do it because you have respect for the man and respect for the club that he loves. And I think that's what, like we said before, Bayern Munich were doing, and I think that's why Real Madrid went back for Zidane. It's that case of like, well, this fella's been here and done it. And I'm not saying Koeman's done it as a manager, but I think he's done it. He's got it. That's his ultimate job, and he's going to do everything.
Yeah, he's always wanted the job. Yeah.
So, and it might only be a couple of years. It might, but that's on Koeman, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. At the end of the day, Frank Rijkaard was good for 3 years, and then Pep Guardiola came in. It doesn't really say. You can have bridge managers do well.
Karim says, since you're speaking about Leipzig, I was wondering what your thoughts were on some of their star players, especially Sabitzer, is it?
Marcel Sabitzer, yeah.
Who are absolutely brilliant in their midfield.
Incredible, yeah.
And defensive beast Upamecano.
Upamecano, yeah.
What do you think of them?
They're great, yeah.
Could you play in the Premier League?
I think Upamecano will do, yeah, or he'll play for Real Madrid or Barcelona. I think I love. He's injured. Or he was injured. Ibrahima Konate, his centre back partner, they're incredible pair. Sabitzer, yeah, all energy. I think Sabitzer's a bit older, isn't he? I think he's 27 now. So he could play in the Premier League. A lot of energy, like Conrad Lema, another good player as well. They've got a great side, really. I think the temptation is to pick them apart. Well, but I think they'll be able to keep them together because they only sell for top dollar, don't they? And
also because they're doing well at the top end of German football as well.
I think they need to get to. I think they need to overhaul Bayern. I think to start become the next level club. But at the moment, at the semi-finals of the Champions League within 11 years, how many other clubs have done that?
Well, if they win tonight, they might have a chance to overhaul them on.
Yeah, it's true. The last German final was great as well, so I wouldn't mind that.
We'll wait and see. Don't forget, people asking for the link. The link is actually youtube.com/The Footy Show is Boss. That's the URL.
Original.
There you go. The link will be in the description. If you make sure you subscribe to that.
If you put Footy Show is Boss in Google, will it come up?
Not yet, I don't think, because I don't think it's been on there long enough.
Oh, right.
But youtube.com, The Footy Show is Boss, is the place to find this channel. Please give us a subscribe so you know when we switch over. We're getting everyone used to it. So when we switch over, then that's where it'll be. But if you're on Patreon, you won't need to go anywhere. The videos will be live every day the same. No problem with that. So if you want to join us on Patreon to watch them live and join in with the show, the link is in the description as well. So there you go. We'll be back on Thursday. No show tomorrow. We'll be back on Thursday and we'll be discussing, well, it'll be like a Champions League preview, Europa League final preview as well. Europa League final's Friday, isn't it? Champions League final's Saturday.
Yes.
I think.
Maybe Sunday. No, it's Saturday. It's always on Saturday, yeah.
So we'll be discussing that on Thursday. So plenty of stuff, and hopefully there'll be a few transfers and other stuff going round. And yeah, that'll be it. So make sure you give this video a like, subscribe if you haven't already. And if you're watching this video and the PSG game's already kicked off and you're like, why didn't I watch that live? Catch us over on Patreon where we talk live about footy in general. There you go. Thanks for watching. See you later.